Yeah, sir. Hello, sir. Yeah, I was just making sure the recording started. Yeah. So I'll continue with the session, sir. So, do you guys have any questions regarding yesterday's meet we had session we had? Do you guys have any questions? Okay, I think you guys have no questions regarding yesterday's meet that we had. Okay, today we'll be covering input form and we'll be going on different types of input that you can take in a form, like for example text area, option, button, iframe, and so on. So, do you guys apart from whatever I said, do you guys have any idea what other inputs are accepted in a form of HTML? Guys, I know it's a Sunday night and you guys are sleepy and you are the week is about to start, but a little bit answers from your sides would be helpful. Can you put in a message box if you don't mind? What are the other types of inputs that you can accept from a form HTML? Uh huh. Audio, video checkboxes, and that's it. Okay. Text field, button, radio checkbox. Yeah. Select. Yeah. Those are good answers. Okay, so seems like you guys are awake. You're not sleeping in Sunday night. So I'll start on with the session now. Okay, text area. Yeah, you're right. Those are one of them. Um, Date. Yeah, that's right. So I hope my screen is visible to all of you guys. We just starting. Okay. But- So yesterday we went over tables. So I just have that. Okay. So today we'll be going over the input form as I said. And do you guys have any idea what's the structure for a form? Like how we would take in any input type in a form? Like how would the basic structure be of a form? If you guys know it, would you mind typing it in the text box? Just a structure of how a form would have. You can just put one field, like for example, like input or something like that. Any idea of how? Okay, using label and input fields. Yeah, yesterday we saw a table structure. We started with table, then we had a T head, then we had or the structure T body. Then inside that we had headers, then we had TD like that. Do you guys have idea how a structure of a input would work? Like a form structure. Well, how would a form structure start off, and how would it move on? What are the fields that you can put inside? Okay. Then I'll be taking input type as an example since you guys don't know. So whenever you have a form, it always starts off with the form. Whenever you want to take a input, usually you take it with the form. It starts off with the form where you open and it's a closing bracket. Okay. So it starts off like this. Then you put in the label. As you can see, I'm taking name over here. Then you have the second one that is another input type of text that you're going to take. You don't need to put break statements. Just giving the break statements. Okay. Then we have one more input that is Okay, this is basically how it would work. And usually when you start off with the form, okay, so you'll have the form starting opening tag and the closing tag, and you'll have a label that will represent what you're trying to put in over here. Okay, then you'll have a input. This is just one input I've taken, and usually forms usually have a button that is submit. So I've just given you an example of how it would be. And this is like the usually the basic structure of any form table that you take. You'll have different fields over here depending on however you want. Then moving on, you'll have the whatever values that you want to add on, it will keep on adding. So do you guys, so what do you think, is input tag inline or a block level element? Block label and input, would it be block or inline elements? Okay, which one? All of them are block? Okay, no. Input is a inline element. What do you think about label? Anyone else want to answer that question? Both are inline. Yeah, you're right. Both of them are inline. Label and the input would be inline elements. And what do you guys think about form? Is form inline or block? Or in the label. Okay. So you guys are right. So block, it is a form belongs to a block element, and whether you take input and the label, they would be belonging to the inline elements. And Kashyap, we will get to the attributes of why do we need for and all this stuff just in a minute. So moving back, so in the forms, what are the, you guys, have you seen, form, what are the few attributes that you would see in a form, like a basic attribute that you would have observed? You guys have any idea? Usually forms have like two attributes that are quite common. When you have something, so what is the two attributes that you would see which is commonly used in a form? Have you guys any observed? Okay, method, action, pass, name. Okay, in a form. Okay, I don't know what you mean by pass, but name, yeah, you see name, that's right. So I think method, Benaka is right, and anyone else? Okay, so we would see method, action. That's absolutely right. So as Benaka said, so what we would have is we would have an action such as this, where it will trigger any backend methods you have with it. Okay, then the action would be, the method would be the action. So do you guys have idea about what is post, and do you guys know about the HTTP responses? Do you guys know what are the other HTTP responses? Yeah, you're right. Target is also one of them. What are the five HTTP methods that are present in a, in a, like response? Get and get, post, put. Okay, get, put, post, update, patch. Okay, put, post, patch, update. Okay. Do you guys the, as you said, like there's much more that the, but for most commonly five used are, as the, Arjun said, Malik Arjun said, it's put, post, update, patch, and delete. These are the five common that is used. Of course, there's more than that. There's, like, for example, you could take head, options, trace, connect, and these are, some other HTTP responses that you learn in the future. But the most that you would require now, right now, for the internship and for the, for learning it, is just these two. That is these five of them. That is post, put, and delete, update. Okay, and get. So do you guys want to, in the chat box, can you put what does get would, why do we, use get method, and why do we use post method, since these two are very common that you would use? Why would you use get, and why would you use post method? You guys have idea why you would use a get method and a post method? You guys had subject, right? Like network communications or network something that was related to this request and response. Okay. Okay, that's you're close, but why do we usually use a get method? Okay, I understand we would have request and response. That is right, but even when I'm trying to send a post method, okay, get method would be retrieving data from the server. Post method is data. Okay, submitting. Yeah, when you're right on point, you would use get method to retrieve any data, and you would use post method to submit any data. Benaka, like, is it possible that I could send, I could even update or I could submit data using get method? Like, can I send a body through get method? Just asking you general questions. Do you guys think I could send some information from get method where I could? Oh yeah, yes. Not only through URL, can I send it through like a body? Like in get methods we have a body. Can I send it through that? Through URL parameters is absolutely, yeah. That's one of the ways. And what if I want to send it through a body? Okay. Yeah. So yes, the reason, Benika, I'll just give you an update. So you can send data through get method. You can put some data in the body and you can send it, but it won't have any meaning because you're not you can't get any you can't read the body content that you have put in a get method. So you can send it, but it's not, you're not supposed to do it, and it's not a good practice. Neither can the server read anything from that. Hence, we don't put any data in the get method. And during post method you'll put the URL and you can put parameters and you can some send information. And guys, if you're not understanding what I'm trying to say with get post methods, I'll give you an example. Have you guys heard about postman? Any of you guys? Okay, so what is postman used for then? Why do we use postman? Let me see if I can. Sorry, Likit, your voice was not able. Can you repeat once again? To deliver the message. To no, not the post that we get in the daily life, postman software. There's a postman software that is available, like this one, postman. Have you guys heard about this? Okay, so it's loading. Just give me a second. As soon as it loads, I will guys show you. So Postman is a software that you'd use, like when you get into web development. It is a software tool where you would be stimulating your web browser, where you'll be triggering different response, different endpoints of APIs. I think you guys know, yeah, API testing, right on point. Malikajan, that's a good answer. So, what we would be doing in Postman is we would try to hit responses and such as get, post, put, update, delete, anything that you want to show. Okay, signing. Hold on, it's taking time. If you go and open, okay, sign open. Okay, I think there's something wrong with the Postman. It's not opening. Let me see if I can open it manually. Okay, let's move back to the lesson. So as I was telling you guys, it is Mallikarjun said it's right. API testing is nothing but when you write in the future you'll write backend Python, and Python would be having a few endpoints. That means as you can see over here, endpoints are whatever you put slash and whatever comes after that. Like for example, right now, in the code that we wrote, where did we go? Okay, so in the code that we wrote an endpoint. So as you can see that I asked it to go to this endpoint slash submit data. So these are called endpoints of a website. Like whenever you build something software, each endpoint would trigger some other response, or it would hit something. So what you would do is in Postman. Sign out. Let me see if I can show you guys how it works. Okay. So this is how a basic of Postman would be. I think I hope my screen is visible. You guys are able to see that? Okay. So here you can see that I would have different type of response methods that I could trigger. I could trigger a post method, and I could trigger a put method, a patch method, delete, or anything that I want to trigger. I could trigger that. And when I put a URL over here, for example, I'll just take Google's URL, like or we can go to GitHub. Okay. So I'll just go to this page. So whenever you have a login page or anything like that, these all of them will have act as a get method. So I'll just put this get method over here, and I'll try to hit it from this point. Okay, so I'll try to hit that endpoint, and you guys can see I hit the and I got a response as HTML document. So when I go to preview and click that, you could see that I'm heading to this, like the website of the GitHub. So this is how this is called Postman, and you'd be using this more when you get into the internship, and you'll be triggering, as Malikarjun said, you'll be triggering different endpoints, and you'll be looking at the responses, and when you go to a post method, you'll have body where you could send information in different forms. We will even go through what are these as, and there'll be params that are that belongs to this. We'll get usually we send this with the get method, and we'll get into the depth of it. Right now, you should just know the basics of how what are the methods and like how you could trigger that. So moving back to the forms. So moving back to the form, as you can see, that's why we use action. Action will trigger to an endpoint, and post method will be sending the data that you're trying to send. Okay, if you put any method over here, it will submit that, and it will take that information to this endpoint. Okay, so moving back, so one of you guys asked, why do we need the for for attribute over here? Right. So the for attribute is used to link the label to the input field. So you're telling the browser, I'm using this label for this input. So how does the browser know that you're using this exact thing for this input? So you'll provide a name over here. So whatever the value that you provide over here, the value should be similar to the value that you provided over here to the ID. So if these two values are matching, then the browser will understand that you have provided this label to this particular input. That's how it would be taking. Okay, right now I'll just remove this thing, so I'm not triggering a response, and it is going to another page. So I could show you how the things work in a better manner. Okay, so as you guys said, it will come over here and it will link to the ID tag, and these both will be conjoined together. And if you provide any in the future, you learn more of CSS properties that you can provide to form input element, where, like, for example, you would want to hover it, or when you want to focus it, or even you're typing, you want to have different styles. During that, this would be really helpful. That's why you group a label with an input. And it's not necessary, there's no rule that you have to write a label with an input, but it's a recommended practice that you have whenever you have a input you had with a label. And for submit method, it's not necessary, because it will come with you can see that it's submit button, but even for this you could provide a label. So this is a basic type. So you can see that when I put try in text button, it will just take that. So this is one of the input types. And next thing we have text area. So do you guys have any idea what's the difference between text and text area? So instead of for, can we set id? Like you want, in the label you want to set id. What do you mean? Can you be a little bit more specific about your question? Yeah, for label, what do you want to do with the label? So Nika, would you mind elaborating on your question? Like, I'm not getting what you're trying to say. I understood that you want to set a ID over here. You are saying, can I put a ID over here? Is that what you're trying to say? Label ID. So yeah, as you said, like label ID. So yeah, you can do that. It's not like you can't do it or you won't get the output if you write ID over here and ID over here. But it is not a recommended practice because in HTML we have this thing where IDs are unique. So you're supposed to use like like ID only once. Like it should be unique for everything. Like for example, if you go to your college, they will provide you ID number. So why do they provide you the ID? Because to uniquely identify you, so you're not clashing with anyone else, and it is not a it is not a formal practice to make sure that you have the same ID and your friend or someone has the same ID. The reason why we give an ID is to have different, each of them will have different. So for example, if I say that I'm using this ID over here in the same field, but if I have same ID for two different tags, it is not a recommended practice because even the browser you'll reduce the robustness of the application that you've written, and it is not a good practice either. You'll even have a problem with readability because you're providing two IDs at the same time. But as you can say, if I, for example, I'll just say that this is label name, and then I want to I will give different IDs such like that, but then you're not linking. Now label name will be acting as an independent tag, and input will be having an independent tag. They won't have any linking that's going on over there. So but which is not again a recommended practice, but usually you'll provide a for over here. Okay, so you're trying to say to the browser that I want to entitle this label to this input, and so hence you're, of course you can write it, but it is just not a recommended practice. Sonika, did I answer your question? Okay, so we'll be moving on. Okay, so do you guys want to what's the difference between a text and a text area? Can you guys just type it in the message box, so I'll be going with the next code. Okay. Maybe get image. Okay, text area is used to create a multi-line input, and text area we said no row and column. Okay, so yeah, both of those answers are pretty good. So yes, one more thing, details example, text field only one input, text area multiple details example, address. Yeah, perfect, spot on. And one more thing, guys, as I'm typing, I would recommend you guys to have a VS Code on your laptop too, and you're trying to write this code, and you are also practicing. So I'm teaching you so you can understand. I can copy paste, but there won't be proper reason. But even type along with me, and you also make sure that you're understanding these topics. And when you type along in your computer, then you'd get more questions, so I can clear them too. I'm trying to cover everything, but if as I missed yesterday the DLDT, if I'm missing any topics like that, you can ask me, then even I'll try to cover it. So I just recommend you guys to have open VS Code on your laptop too, and try the same code that I'm trying, so you are understanding the what you're trying to learn over here. Okay. So, okay, so you're right. So as we'll get back to the text area. So as you guys see that I wrote a password and ID type password. So what do you guys think would be a difference between a text and a password? Like what do you think the output difference would be before I simulate the response? So what is the main difference that you would observe in a password field and in a text field? That is quite common. Yeah, that is absolutely right. Passwords will be hidden, and as you can see, even if I type in anything over here, it won't show me the data that I'm typing. It will just show it to me as dots. So that's one of the things, and it will be hidden. And for name, it will be like, and again in the future we'll learn how to, like, put eye icon over here where we are unhiding and hiding the password. We'll learn that too pretty soon. So Benaki, you were spot on with the password input, and now we'll be moving on to some other types. So guys, I'm making sure that I'm only going over the basics or whichever is necessary. And if you guys want me to teach something that you want to learn in the text input, like there's a vast amount of it. I'm just covering the basics. So if I miss anything, you can let me know and we'll cover that. Label, email. Input. Okay, there you go. Is helping me a lot. So as you can see over here, we will have the input field, so email, and so you guys would have a question. So why do I need to use this whole another type email when I have text and stuff like that? So do you guys mind answering the question? Like I already have a text, right? It will accept any input that I can take. I can put anything, like any characters that I want. Why do I need this new type email? What's the necessity of it? Do you guys have any idea? Yeah, Monisha, you were right with the answer. So, why do you think that I would need that thing? Like, why do I need another type email? Why can't I just put it in text? Not really. That's one of the right answer. Yes, of course. But some other answers like that, except that, that's a good answer. But I'm expecting a better answer than that. It takes email from the format text, email validation, and what are the other things that you brainstorm your brains, guys? So think about the answers. What are the other things that you'd be there? Yeah, that's those are for at the rate. It takes email format, text, email validation. Okay, and rest. Okay, so to answer the question that I asked, so one of the thing is, if I put the type as email, as you guys said for at the rate symbol, yes, it will have a built-in validation. For example, the format checking will takes place whenever you put the type is equal to email, then input will be automatically it will validate the enter text and confirms this is the standard email format. For example, it must contain at the rate symbol and all those things. And when you're writing in the backend, if you want, like, if you have any other regex expression that you want to put in, I think you guys know about regex expression, right? You ever heard it? Regular expressions. Yeah, okay. So when you want to put in a regex expression, for example, you want to be more specific about the email format. For example, you're allowing only any, like, specific organizations input. For example, let's take you guys got EWIT's email, if I'm right. So whichever college you're studying, if they provided you any, like, email, those things, then you'd be, for example, if you belong to an organization and they want to have something like, example.org or something, and you want to make sure that only those kind of emails are accepted, and during this you'll have that. And one more thing is, this will it's for keyboard optimization. That's one more thing. And it's because when you type on a mobile devices, if you're using typing equipment, it will trigger a specialized keypad. You guys have seen it, right? Like when you try to type in something on the phone, you'll get the at the rate symbol when you're trying to write the email. Have you guys observed it? Like when you type in an email field, you'll get the at the rate right next to your space button. Have you guys observed it? Okay, no, like when you type in like, for example, just right now try, like, going into any sign up page of any website that you want to take, and they will ask for your email. And when as soon as you click on the type, the field, you'll get your keypad layout will change. It will change into at the rate symbol. Hence you will put that email. So one of the thing is keyboard optimization. And one more thing that is that you use it for is for this thing placeholder and suggestions. So for example, as soon as you can see over here, where did you go? Okay. So you can see over here that whenever I try to type something, later I was getting, I don't know why. Okay, so you can see that I got a suggestion saying that, like, do you want to put in this email? Are you trying to do that? So the why I got this email is because I put in a type that is email. So this is one of the reasons why you wanna, you want to let the browser know, and the, help the users and make the user experience better by trying to say that this is an email field and you have to put in an email. So that's one of the reasons. So one is built-in validation, second one is user experience, and third one would be semantic meaning. So what does semantic meaning mean? Like you're making sure that your code is readable and, it's optimized. So these are the reasons why you would put a type in email. Then we'll be moving on to the next one, that is a number. So you just change the number over here. Um, And guys, whatever I put in, like for ID and for, it doesn't have to be whatever I'm putting. You can put anything. I'm just putting this, like I can even put my name. It doesn't matter. But you have to make sure that whatever you put in for, it has to match with ID. Otherwise, it won't be locked with each other. So you have to make sure that both are the same. But it's a good practice to put in whatever you're trying to, whatever you're trying to get it retrieve from the label, from the input. Like for example, I'm just gonna, since it's a number, I'm just gonna ask for some quantity. And one of the things that you would have seen is whatever they put in over here, usually that's what they put in the for and the ID with the lowercase letters. That's like a normal practice that is followed. Okay. So name is also there. So what do you guys think? One of the common attributes that will be allocated with neighbor number type. Do you guys have any idea? For number format means we can increase the number or decrease the number. Yeah, you are absolutely right on point. And what are the attributes, like a common attribute that you would expect in a input of a type a number? A quite common one. Like here we didn't have any other attributes. Like for example, for name and we'll have for these things. But for number, whenever we put a type number, we put something. Like, for example, it's a common attribute. Do you guys have any idea what are the common attributes that you would put? Whole numbers, not really. Something more better, not whole numbers. Something a better answer than that. Value default. Yeah, value default. That's absolutely a good one. But if you'll go over that, okay. So I'll just give you. I'll just write it down. So one of the things that you would normally observe in in a form would be where you'll be putting a min max value. This is like a common attribute that you'd put. It's not necessary that you have to put in these two attributes. It's not a necessary requirement, but this is one of the common things that you'd see whenever there's an input field. They will try to put this, over here. As you can see, you can increase or decrease the number, and as I have provided the minimum value, you can see it will start from 2. Okay, and it will go all the way up to 100. After 100, it won't take any input. You see, this is like a common attribute that is used. Okay, and there's much more attributes. You guys can go to MDN reference, as I said yesterday, this website, and go over that, anything that you want to learn. But again, if you want to discuss any of the attributes that you want to know better, I could teach that too. Now we'll be moving on to next one, that is just copy paste this. Okay, so this is a date format. So this is how the common date format that will be there. It will start off with date, month, and year. And as you can see, it will give you the date format. Then you can pick a calendar out of it, and based on that, you can this is how this label would work. Okay. Then there's time input, and there is even okay. So we'll be going over the two things that the other two things are checkbox and radio. That we'll be going over those. So guys, whenever you're writing or trying to write, with the checkboxes and radio buttons, the format would change a little bit. So just make sure that you're following this format. Of course, you could write it in the format that I showed you too, but the format keeps on changing for checkboxes and radio. So you can use any format that you want. Some people write it in a different way, and some people like it in a different way. So it is up to you however you want to use it. You can write it in this format too, where you're putting label and input type. You can do that too. But since there's not much values, I'll just use this format. Okay. So as you can see, checkboxes will have like this, where you'll have a tick mark, and I'm pretty sure you guys have used checkbox, and this is how the syntax would go. And this is not the necessary syntax. I just made it a short, but you are allowed to write it in this format too. So how you can I'll just show both the formats so you guys have an idea. So one of the as we written on the earlier clothes, we can even write it in this way. Label for quantity. And time is equals to checkbox ID. So as you can see, you can write in this manner too. So as you can see, the checkbox move to the right hand side over here. And whenever you're writing this label and input, and you're also you don't have to put a label and input after it. You can even follow this structure where you're putting a input first, then label. Then this will it will trigger the point. As you can see, it will just make the birthday go over there. So depending on however you want it or however the output is, you can change the input and the label. But you just have to make sure that they both are next to each other, like in the next adjacent lines, so you're not confused and the code readability is better. Okay, so you guys, and we'll be going over the last one, that is radio button. Then after that, we'll be moving to the next topic. So radio button is similar to checkbox, but the can you guys state out the difference, like the main difference between a radio button and a checkbox? What is the difference between a checkbox and a radio button? Like a range, maximum length, it should not exceed 10 numbers, whole numbers. Okay. Okay. Checkboxes, we can select multiple options, but in a radio only one option is okay. But radio button is used to select a single option, while checkbox is used to select multiple items. Radio only one can select. Yeah, you guys are right on. So radio buttons, you can only put a, there's only one value that you can pick. But whereas for checkbox, there's no limit. You can select multiple options that you want. And guys, there's one more last one that I'll be teaching you would be, so there's other values that you can take for type. So there's something called as file. There's text area, as you guys said. Then there's a range slider and much more. So if you guys have, if you find free time, I would ask you guys to go and explore those fields, try out different types and understand how they work. And as I showed you guys yesterday, this, like, I would recommend you guys than W3 schools, go over here and try to understand what's in this W docs. Okay, don't go to W3 schools. Try to understand whatever is present in the Indian docs. Then you can switch to W3 schools if you're not understanding. Because as a developer, you should understand and try to read whatever there is from the official documentation. So you have to always refer the official documentation. So I would recommend you guys to go to the MDN docs and read it, understand what it is, then explore few of the other types or that is available. So do you guys have any questions regarding the form things that we discussed right now? You want me to repeat any topics that we covered as far? Any attributes, any type of input? Okay. So, and one more thing that I would ask you guys to do is go out there and even read some of the other tags like superscript, subscript, abbreviation, strong, em. Okay, then bold, br, hr. Try these tags out. Try to write the code and see how they behave in different manners, and try to understand how these tags work. And we have, so far we have covered the basics of tags. And if you guys think that I have left out any topics that is important and you want to know, you could let me know. Okay, we'll just take a 5-minute break, then we'll be right back. So I think right now time is 7:50, so we'll be back in 7:55. So till that, you can take a break, you can relax. By that time, if you have any questions that we discussed, you could ask me that question. I'll discuss the answer for it. So first we'll go with the Kashyap. Kashyap, do you mean BDO? I have heard about BDO tag, but DBO tag. This is a new one for me. I have not heard about that tag. Do you mean BDO or you meant DBO itself? Okay. Kashyap, select tab. Okay, sure. We will go over select tab. And Kashmir, you mentioned that DBO tab. I have heard about BDO tab, which is like bi-directional something, but DBO tab. Do you mean like DBO itself? But I have not heard about DBO tag. Do you mean DBO or BDO? Yeah, so it's video. Okay. So yeah, as you asked, it's a video tag. So why do we use this video tag? Is like it stands for, as you said, bidirectional override. It is to give a directionality to the content like that's inside over there. So for example, like you wanna write the content of content from left to right or right to left. Sometimes you want to make sure that there's an alignment or something like that. Then you would provide this video. So why do we need this video is because there's few languages that does not follow the format of left to right. And correct me if I'm wrong. This information might be wrong, but if there's anyone out there that they think this information wrong, please correct me. Like for example, if you take Urdu text, and I believe that it's wrote from right to left, and there's some certain languages that are wrote from right to left. And for example, if you take English or any the language that we learn like the Kannada or something like that, it is left. It is always wrote from left to right. So to provide this directionality function, we use this BDO tag as you asked. So I'll just show you an example of how it will work, just so you can understand where it will work. Yeah, right. So like BDO. So this is how it would be, but if I change it to RTL, it will be like this. Did you understand what happened over there? Who raised that question? Okay. The Kashyap, did you see like the my text format had changed? So when I wrote it from LTR, it was from I was writing from left to right, so it was like this testing is something like that. But as soon as I changed it to RTL, it started writing the other way around. As you can see like this. See like that. So the whole thing turned into the other way. Okay. So this is why you use RTL. So one time, some of the another reason that you would use it is sometimes you want to encode something or something like that, and this is like the simplest way. But usually, if you're trying to do this, sometimes people prefer styles. They do it over style sheet, but of course, you can do it through HTML too. Did I clear your question? Was the answer something that you expected, Kashyap? Did I answer your question? They shown it as DBO itself. Okay, so I don't know why they showed it, or my knowledge is limited, of course, but I don't know why they did that. But it's DBO, not sorry, BDO, not DBO, bidirectional. So I will just go. I have not looked at sound basics, but I'll just go through it and see what they're trying to explain. Or is there any tag? As far as I know, there's no tags like DBO. But if there's any, then I'll read about it and I'll let you know. Okay, and next question was: is there any limit? Yeah. So right now you asked whether data bidirectional override. Okay, so data bidirectional override. Okay, yeah, I'll read about that. Even I'm not sure. It's as far as I read it, it was a video, but I think that's a new tag or something like that. But I will look at it. Maybe sometimes the syntax might change, and or it's not something like a newer version came out, or it's an older version. I'm not sure about why they're using DPO. Don't want to give a wrong information, but whatever I learned, whatever as far as I know, it's video. But I'll look at that and I'll update you guys on that. And one of you guys. Asked whether I can limit the number of choices that I can provide in checkbox. Yes, Darshan, you can do that, but you won't be doing that in HTML. That would be taken care of JavaScript. JavaScript will be limiting how many checkboxes you can select. And when we dive into JavaScript, when we are learning JavaScript, remind me, then we will go over this topic to how to limit checkboxes using JavaScript. And moving on, select tab. Yeah, I'll show for sure. We'll discuss about select tab. Okay, moving on. So, as one of you guys asked, this is a basic structure of how you would write, mm, this thing, select, input. So it will start off with the label, and as you can see, you can put the label in the bottom or in the top. It's up to you, depending on how you wanna have it. But then you'll have the label, which will again have the for, and this for whatever you're writing, and the ID should be. You have to make sure that both the okay, never mind. I think I thought of cars, then I thought of football. But you're not supposed to do that. It's don't do that. Make sure that both of the for and the ID are always matching, and they should be the same. And next you will have as you can see, you can provide many options, and depending on the option value that you provided, you can choose that, and each option inside is defined using an option tag. So the value that you provide in each option would be it would be the value that you, whenever you try to select this. So for example, in you'll learn, like when you start learning JavaScript, you need to retrieve this the values that you have provided through ID. During that time, have you guys seen about, you write the document dot get element, and you'll by element by ID, then you'll start retrieving the values. Have you guys done that, like in any in the backend? Have you guys tried it? When you're writing JavaScript, you try to get the value. You go event dot value. Have you guys tried that in JavaScript? Seen that? I know you guys are learning HTML right now, but anywhere in the code, have you guys seen it? Like you'll have a event trigger for anything that you have. Yeah. So when you're trying to retrieve a value, you want to know what that value is associated. That time you need to know, specify the value. So this value, what do you provide? So whatever you provide over here, it's just to display. So even if I leave this blank, and if I try to retrieve the value, there'll be, it won't show anything. But if I click on this and select this, in the backend, this the value that whatever you provided, the green the text will be taken considered by the backend, whatever JavaScript or whichever JavaScript, when you write the code, when you try to retrieve it, this is what will happen in the backend. So hence you need to provide the value. It's always you will take the value. So I think you understood. Do you want me to go in more depth? Do you want to discuss anything that is particular to select, or is that did I is that enough for select? Like you want to know about more about select tab, or is that good? I believe Nandita. You can leave a text. You don't have to answer. Did I answer your question, Nandita? Is that enough? Do you want me to go in more depth of select tab? You can discuss a few more attributes that's associated with select tab if you want. Okay. So we'll be moving on to the next topic. That is, I think I have covered most of the topics in HTML, and if there's any other topics that you guys want me to cover, we can go with that. But right now, I'll be moving to CSS, and so guys, so what have you learned about the main topics of CSS? What do you think it is important to learn those topics in CSS? It's of course you need to know the abbreviation. What are the main topics that you heard, that you should know in CSS? You guys, can you tell me? What are the main topics of CSS? There's a few things that you need to know about CSS. Some topics you can put random topics. It doesn't have to be specific. Front margin, font margin, padding, background, properties, flexbox, box model, styles, padding, margin, axis, display flex, align centers, okay, justify content center, okay, okay, width, height, okay. So guys, you're telling me like the properties of CSS. I'm not asking about properties. Grid and animation, that's a good one. Like topics, like as Sonika said, grid and animation, and what are the okay animations? Okay, good. And anything else? Animations and grid is a good topic, and transition, okay, positioning, okay. What are the other few topics? Inheritance. That's a really good topic. Yeah, that's a good topic that we have to cover. Okay, inheritance and pseudo elements, okay, there's modeling, okay, that's good, okay. So you guys, that's most of the topics that you guys said. Both of the all of them are like right, we have to, those are important topics, and I'll make sure to cover most of them as much as I can. So as we will be starting off with something that's really basic, that is how, three different formats of styling that is available. As you guys, we discussed in the first lesson itself. It's inline and embedded and external. And I hope you guys have an idea, or do you want me to go over, show an example of how these three are different? Do you want me to go over that topic, just show you a syntax of how it works, or can I move on to the next topic? Okay, guys. You need to let me know. I'm not the one who is learning. So if you want me to go over those three types of styling, I could go over. Or if not, then we will move on to the the basic of how tags work and the specificity. Okay, good. Okay, so because it's quite basic, I don't want to it's quite repetitive, and I don't want to cover that. So we'll be moving on to the main topic right now. So I'll just take a sample example of how these things work. Okay. So one of the main thing that I observed is most of you guys are making mistakes with classes and IDs. Like so, in CSS, there's something called as you have to select whatever you want to style it to the tags. You can select it in three different, four different, many different, four, five different ways. So most common five different ways. So one would be using tags, second one would be classes, third one would be id, then you have pseudo elements and pseudo structures where you can select it, and last one will be based on the dom structure. Okay, so the first one will be the tag. So for example, if I take a paragraph tag and I write something through to that. Okay, so when I want to style something, so I'll usually start off with body, and these are the body tags, and we'll be discussing the specificity. So when I write in a body, the body would have the least specificity because it's just a normal tag. Okay, then we have color. So it's very important to understand, the to specificity of anything that you take. Okay, then I'll be moving on to para. Let's say, okay. So just okay. So as you guys can see that, I have provided a body, so, some few CSS property, like one bag CSS property, that is color, and paragraph I have provided it, the property of, red. And why did boy paragraph is inside the body, right? Why is it, the paragraph color has changed, whereas whatever write in the body has not changed? So do you guys wanna, do you guys know what uh, topic that comes under it? You guys mentioned so many, right? So why is, my paragraph colors property being overridden by the body property? So what topic does it cover under? Specificity. Okay, and there's one more thing. I think one of you guys even mentioned that. Yeah, spot on. So it is inheritance. You are right. So as you guys have already learned inheritance in different languages, and of course this even applies for HTML. So the one of the main reason that you would know this is because you should know this because it's due to the DOM structure. Have you guys heard about DOM structure? Document orientation mode. Have you guys heard about it? DOM structure in HTML. Any idea what is DOM structure? Have you heard about it? Yeah, document object model. Yeah, you're right. That's right on. So this document object model will give you what is the parent of a HTML structure, and it will provide this. So whenever you try to display anything in the, in a browser, it will start off with loading the HTML tag, then it will move on to the head. Where did the code go? Okay, it will start off with the HTML, then it will go to the head and body. Those will be the children's, and for body, for head, the children's would be meta, title, and so on. For body, the children would be the paragraph, and this one. So this would be a leaf element, as you can see. So it will start branching out, and you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys heard about tree structure, right? You guys have like you know gone over tree structure, right? In I think in the DSA or something, other languages, you guys have an idea about tree structure, right? Like it will have a root, then it will branch out and all this stuff. Do you guys have an idea about it? Okay, good. So as you can see, it will start off with HTML. Then it will have two children, that is head and body. So I can't write a try tree structure in code, but you guys understand or imagine how it is working. So as you guys said, paragraph would be the children of body, and whenever you try to write any property in CSS by to the children, and you are specifying it, then the whatever the parents CS property that you were provided would be overridden. Okay, so this is very important because sometimes what happens is, usually when you're coding and you're trying to style, so what happens is you would have provided some complex code to the parent, and you're writing that to the children, and it would be overridden. And whenever you try to change the property of the, the parent, it won't reflect to the children. For example, I want to change this to something else, but then you can see that my paragraph color property won't change. Of course, it will remain the same. Okay, and you're trying to apply any, these are very easy, properties. That's why you're able to identify. But once you get deeper into coding, you'll start including complex properties. Like for example, there will be justify content, flex, display flex, and display block. And in the parent, you would have provided display flex, and in the child, you're trying to apply display block. And somewhere you try to move back into display, it's like inline or something like that. It won't work on the children, because even in the children, you wrote some property and it's overriding. So it's very necessary to understand this inheritance topic. Okay, then that's the one of the reason. Then moving on, the specificity, in the specificity scale would be where you're trying to put a class over there. So let me do this. So I provide this. Uh, So as you guys can see over here, I have provided a class over here. You can see that even though I have written some property for a paragraph, it didn't take that. It just got overridden by the class property that I have written. For example, right now I'll take out this class property that I have given, and you can see that this will be normal, so it will come back to red. Okay, so as you can see, the specificity will get overridden, of course. So when you write a class, then it will get overridden. And if you want to get more specific, then it will be with id. Okay, so you will put an id out there, and you just say that ID. You can see, I think I'll pick up another color. You can't see the color out there, so let me put in green. Okay, maybe that will be visible. Okay, so as you can see, the specificity got more increase. Yeah, there's a paragraph tag that got overridden by even if I put, so for example, I'll put both. I'll put class and ID over here. Class, and ID. See, as even if I put class over there, it's not taking that. It's only taking the ID parameter. It's because IDs will be having the most amount of what do you say, most amount of specificity. So that's why the ID, whatever the property that I provided to ID, it's taking that. And if you want to get more specific, then you'd be heading to this thing. What is it? So as you can see, I provided one more pseudo element, that is I just give a hoover. There's other modes like we saw yesterday, um, I mean, so we saw that there was other like first element, first character, and all the same. These come under the pseudo property. So over here, as you can see, that I as soon as I provided hoover over here, and I provide this property, it changed. Like if I move my cursor over to this thing, you can see that the color is changing to. Let me zoom in, maybe that. So you can see that as soon as I hover over this thing, it is changing the color. So okay, I made a spelling mistake. I think. Same color as. Okay. So as soon as I hover over it, you can see the color getting changed. And whereas this is like how the specificity goes. So first that you would be having the parent tag, then the children tags, whatever property would be written, it will be written overridden. Then after that you'll write a class, those properties will be overridden. And as soon as you write ID, again it will be overridden. This is how the specificity will increase from the tags to the children's tag and moving on. So is that clear? Do you guys getting the idea of how it is working? Is it clear? Did you guys understand the specificity topic? Okay, good. So guys, it's like 8:20, and I can pick a new topic if you guys want. So, what is your patience level? Shall I go to a new topic? Do you guys have the patience, or shall we stop it for here today? There's much more topics that I need to discuss in CSS. We can pick probably another topic that's a little bit more. Yeah, document object model. Yeah, we could cover that. So it will take a little bit more. No, no, my bad. Box modeling in CSS. I want to teach that, like how it works and everything. So do you guys have patience? Shall I teach that? Do you guys, or do you want me to stop it here today? So if you want me to stop it, okay. Okay, okay, then I'll stop it. So if you guys have any, and guys, one more thing that I've observed, so it depends on the hierarchy why ID is specified first and overridden the class attribute. Uh, it depends on hierarchy why ID is specified first and overridden the class attribute. Ananya, would you mind? I'm not getting your. Can you? Would you mind rephrasing your question? Like, I'm not understanding what you're trying to say over there. Can you rephrase and I didn't get you I didn't understand what your question is. Like, are you asking like, is ID, does it depend on the inheritance? Like, does it matter like whether where I provide the ID? Is that what you're trying to say? Rephrase the question, Ananya. I didn't get your question. So, and one more thing that I've observed, guys, when we have in the application that you're writing, we have specified to use ID or we have specified to use class, and you guys are mismatching it. And as you guys can see in my code over here, when you're trying to write a CSS property for ID, you have to make sure that you're providing hashtag, not dot. Or like you can't just write this and expect to get your requirements to pass. You have to make sure it's hashtag. When it's class, you have to provide dot. When it's ID, you have to provide hashtag. This is a very important difference that you have to make sure that you're writing in our applications. And sometimes the requirements, like most of the time the requirement won't let you pass, because if we asked you to write class and you written hashtag, or if we have asked you to write an ID and you written a dot, it won't allow you. So make sure you're understanding the difference between hashtag and full stop or a period. Okay, if you're not getting it right, then it won't pass the requirement. So be mindful about it. Let's see. Sure, yeah. If you guys have any queries that you have raised in the application that you want to discuss, you could stay. Rest of you guys could leave the meeting. If you don't have any questions or queries, and you want to leave, you're free to go. If you have queries that you want to discuss, you could stay. Otherwise, you could leave. And Ananya, just don't get offended, but rephrase the question. Yeah, sure. You too. Have a good night. Rephrase the question. I didn't mean to not answer your question. I just didn't understand your question. Rephrase the question and you could put it in the message box.